Hello everyone, it's the Psalmist here. Welcome to today's episode of my answer on Quora. And those who do not know, Quora is like a social media platform where people just ask questions, any type of questions. And anyone who has like an account on Quora can answer that question. So I have an account on Quora, and the type of questions that I deal with are mostly about family, relationship, religion, Christianity, marriage. That's the kind of videos that I make for YouTube. So today I have a question that was asked, and the question reads, how can society enforce universal kindness? So this person is worried about how people are treating one another and how people are behaving. So they want to know, how can we make everyone kind towards one another? So I gave an answer. So my answer reads, we cannot force kindness. We can only demonstrate kindness. This way others will see how life should be truly lived. The mistake that we make as human beings is that we assume a lot of things. We assume that just because a person is an adult, they must have all the answers in terms of behavior and virtues. What we do not consider is that we come from different backgrounds, and because our backgrounds are different, we are most likely to act differently. A child is like a tree. In fact, the Bible does sometimes refer to people as trees. Hence, John the Baptist said, "The axe of the Lord is at the root of all trees." Because we are trees, and not just trees, but trees which must bear fruit. For a tree to bear fruit, it must be manured, it must be watered and pruned, so that it may bear fruit as is required by the one who has planted it. A tree deprived of minerals, manure, and water cannot bear fruit. In the same vein, a child deprived of kindness, love, compassion, grace, and mercy is most likely not to have these virtuous characteristics. So if we want to see a kinder, compassionate, and merciful humanity, we need to exude these virtuous characteristics ourselves. God wanted to recreate a human being who had the same spirit as he does. What did God do? God, through the transformation work of his own spirit in the heart of a human being, which is totally rebellious to him, makes the human being to have the same attitude towards sin and righteousness as he does. So God teaches us. We can teach people to be like us. We cannot teach what we do not know, nor can we give what we do not have. The devil cannot teach kindness and love because he does not have those characteristics. In closing, I would say that if we want a kinder, much more loving and compassionate humanity, we have to start showing these things ourselves in the way that we treat other people, in the way that we relate and interact with other people. Without that, we can form movements upon movements. But if these virtuous characteristics which are needed by all human beings are not deep in our hearts, that they are as natural as hunger and thirst, it will be no use of even talking about universal kindness. Yeah, that is the answer that I gave on Quora about how can society enforce universal kindness. Universal kindness, of course, indeed is true. It's needed. It's needed in terms of changing the relations between people. It's needed in terms of changing the way the so-called righteous people relate to the so-called, unrighteous people. We have to exude the characteristics that we want in people. If we want kindness out of people, we have to be kind. If we want love out of people, we have to be loving. If we want forgiveness out of people, we have to be forgiving. It's not even about me saying that that's what the Bible says. I'm just saying that we have to look to put in what we expect out. Like I mentioned in terms of example of a child being a tree. Children will always reflect the background where they come from. They will always reflect how they were raised. Some children, of course, will contradict how they were raised because maybe they saw someone that they followed and then that person changed their lives. But in most cases, a child will always reflect where they come from. So if we want a kind, a loving, a forgiving, a kind of emphatic society that most people desire, we have to show these things ourselves. And we shouldn't just talk about them on radio stations or on television or on YouTube. We have to demonstrate them ourselves in the way that we live, in the way that we treat people. We have to start seeing beyond the color of the skin of a person and seeing a person who wants to be loved, who wants to be forgiven, who wants to be trained to be righteous, to be holy, to be loving, and do that. The minute we stop looking at people in terms of colors and religion and culture, but just looking at people as human beings, that's when all of us will take all these chips off our shoulders, which we put on when we look at people in terms of their colors, their religion, and their cultures. Because the minute you look as a Christian, you look at a Muslim as a Muslim, you already put a chip on your own shoulder, because that means you now bring this mindset that he is a Muslim. Maybe I'm not even supposed to laugh with him. Maybe I'm not even supposed to just talk about things. I mean, we don't even have to talk about religion. We can just talk about normal things like sport or anything. The minute we can speak about those things, that's the minute when you start trusting one another, then we can start reasoning to each other about God, about which religion is true or not. But the trust comes from the fact that we spoke, and we spoke about things. No one said that I cannot speak to a Muslim or I cannot speak to a Christian. If you look at the Bible, you look at how Christ spoke to everyone, prostitute, tax collectors, who at the time were looked upon as evil people. And that, because he was able to engage in conversation with these people, it enabled him to have something to say about the kingdom of God to them, because he spoke to them. He didn't look down on them like the Pharisees did, because the Pharisees looked down on anyone who was not Jewish, who was not Israelite, that they were worshipping other gods, they were idolaters, so they were not deserving of a conversation of a child who belongs to God. But the minute they did that, they put like chips on their own shoulders. So it meant that because they never even just got to know a prostitute, and I'm saying this because if you were to see me speaking to a prostitute, you may probably think that I want to sleep with her. Maybe I just want to ask her, why is she a prostitute? Without really trying to judge or anything, just why? And if I can get the reason why, maybe I can sort of say that, you know what, you don't really have to live like that. And there's something that I can do to help her to stop doing what she's doing. But the minute you want to isolate yourself from the so-called unrighteous and sinful people, you will never win a single soul. Of course, we must be careful not to do the things that these people do, but we must also be kind enough to just speak to them. Just be human. Just speak about normal things. Just speak about what happened on the weekend. Speak about the election or president's speech. Everybody watched that. And the minute you speak to them like that, you're creating a middle ground for you to be able to say what you want to say. The problem with sometimes street preachers is that they just come across as saying God is going to do this, Christ is going to judge, and then all people are going to hell. That's not the right way. Have a conversation with people. It's like the same thing that I'm doing on Quora. If you want people to come to you, if you want people to listen to you, establish yourself as the kind of person who has understanding, as the kind of person who listens to everyone, despite their religious background, despite who they are, white, black, green, yellow, Koreans, Muslims, everyone. When you do that, and when you reason with what is reality, what is real, what everyone can relate to, that's when people want to pay attention. You see, even on Facebook or everywhere, even when you comment from a point of understanding. Even when you see the most wicked thing, but just comment in such a way that people will ask themselves, What kind of person reasons like that? And when people say that you're different, that you are a kind of person who has a different mindset, a different mentality, they will go to your Facebook page and try to see on your timeline. And your timeline, of course, was most likely for a man who has a true character, reflect the very things that you commented on in that Facebook post. And people want to know more about your thinking. That's how you add people, you add value to people's lives. You cannot just go to a Christian forum or a Christian Facebook group and then just post something. No, comment on what is posted and bring a view that is Christ-like, a view that, attend people, make people want to attend to what you're saying. And then they're going to start to want to follow you. That's how, even in business, you should be doing the same thing. The mistakes that a lot of, online marketing people make is that they're just going to go and just, spam, comments and say, I'm selling this, come and buy. They don't add value. They don't add value to people's lives. Go to people, help them with their issues. Then they're going to start seeing that really you are the kind of person who wants to help. Now they will voluntarily come to you and start asking for help. Do you see that? You see, that's what Jesus Christ did. You see, he went to people, spoke to people, but spoke with such conviction, with such the mindset that God had, that people were astonished. That's why some people were saying, but no one has ever spoken like this man has spoken. So already they're seeing that this is a different person. This is not the kind of person that we've known. They know the Pharisees, they know the priests, but Jesus Christ was different. Why? Because of the way he spoke. You see, so people make the mistake of saying that, don't speak to criminals, don't speak to gangsters, don't speak to prostitutes. Look, if you're an adult, you're old enough to speak to gangsters and they can't harm you, speak to them. Just speak and just try to find out their mindset. Why are they gangsters? Why are they selling drugs? And don't come from a point of judging. Just say, it's kind of interesting, but why do you guys sell drugs? Don't you think that it's not good for your people? You see? If they are Mexicans, it's not good for the Mexicans. If they are black, it's not good for black people. If they are white, it's not good for white people. And then they are most likely, of course, going to be shocked about, what do you mean? They said, I just want to know. I'm just interested. And then they're going to explain. You're going to find that sometimes most people don't really like what they're doing. You see, if it's evil, no one really likes to do evil unless you're the devil. You see, but most people want to do good, but they found themselves in a situation where they no longer believe that they can get out. And because they no longer have to believe that they can get out, they just have to make the most of to make the most of what they're already doing. So they have to learn to find some kind of happiness and joy in that. Do you see that? But when you come with a different mindset, a different version of life, which can take them away, now you're making them think. You're showing them there is a way out. And you're helping them. And if you really mean what you say and say what you mean, that's how you're going to change people's lives. People's lives are not changed because you come there and you throw money at them. No. Most problems are not actually even financial or material things. Most problems are personal. People go through a lot. People go through a lot of things in their lives, but nobody really wants to listen. You see, you can find a racist, a white person who hates black people, but no one actually asks them, what is the root of your hate? What is it about black people that you hate? You see, so because you think that he is racist, you already dismiss him. So this thing cannot go away because you're dismissing him. When somebody says something that is not, it's not orthodox, we say he's crazy. When you say he's crazy, you're eliminating him from all people who are not crazy. No one is willing to listen to his craziness. Where does his craziness come from? You see, that's why everybody wants to shut themselves out of other people, because we don't listen to one another. We don't try to find out why. One of my biggest goals in life is to find out why people do what they do.